Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this advocacy training session. I am Joshua Shear, the advocacy advisor for the Illinois Art Education Association. I also serve as the director for Art for All, and I teach 3rd through 8th grade art in Anna, Illinois. I am very honored and pleased to have a very special guest with us tonight, Mr. Eric Doris from Arts Alliance. Eric, could you say some things about yourself?
Hi, my name is Eric. I'm the Director of Community Organizing at Arts Alliance, Illinois. I have a background in theater and music, spent a lot of time in CPS and returned to the art, working in arts advocacy. So I'm very happy to be here and very excited to support the work of the IAEA.
Well, I guess I will go ahead and get us started. I have a presentation I put together for us. So actually, Eric, why don't you go ahead and share your information about Capitol Day so you can get on to your figuring out dinner.
Okay, I will go ahead and do that. I'm going to share my screen. I'm just go through a short presentation I have for you all about Capitol Day, which is coming up on April the 24th and 25th. The 24th is our one state conference, and then April 25th is our legislative advocacy day down in Springfield, Illinois, called Capitol Day. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about it, about how your members can be involved and how we'd love to see you next month in Springfield. Let's keep going here. So how we got to our advocacy day is we did a policy agenda listening session this past fall. And we listened to lots of arts teachers, arts performers, arts administrators, and the entire sector, and came up with our draft policy agenda. This is our 2-year agenda for now through 2025. And as you can see, there's a little something for every stakeholder in the creative industry to be excited about and to rally behind. You'll see in numbers, I think 11, 12, 13, are all arts education policy platforms that include advancing the implementation of the ESSA Arts Indicator, requiring arts education for all Illinois students, and then also addressing the arts teacher shortage, which we know is part of the overall teacher shortage happening in the country. So the 2 asks that we're going to ask everyone to put at the top of their list that day, even though we have this menu for you to choose from. The first is just asking for a general boost to the FY24 budget for the Illinois Arts Council Agency. This is the mechanism the state has to getting arts dollars out. We did get $50 million this past year, which is currently just got announced, I believe yesterday, the Illinois Creative Recovery Grants. But our goal is to right-size the Illinois Arts Council to the state comparatively to other states. We're also asking for the state legislature to invest in an Illinois Creative Workforce Program. And this is a reskilling and hiring program meant to keep creative workers in the state. As you know, we have lost a lot of leadership in the industry. We've lost a lot of our artists from Illinois. And so our goal is to help create a really solid and well-paying workforce for Illinois, for creatives, that keeps creative people in the state. This is what I've been working on all spring, and you don't have to worry about much of it, but it just shows our work at Arts Alliance through the spring leading up to Capitol Day. We started our work back in February, trying to make sure the arts were part of the governor's budget address. There was a mention from our teacher at Lane Tech High School about her dance program. We kicked off our campaign with our Leadership Coalition and Captains a couple of weeks ago. And then we go all the way until April 24th and the 25th. You'll see that's our one state and Capitol Day. But the end of the legislative session actually does not happen until May 19th. So you'll see the little gray bar there. We'll be coming back to IAEA to engage your teachers and all of your members in taking action on our ask. And that's just something you can do on your phone to call or email or tweet your legislator and make sure they know that the arts are important and that our asks are important for this year. I just want to give you kind of a rundown about how our campaign works, because I know this is an advocacy meeting. So how we're organized over at Arts Alliance, there's the staff. We are the full-time members of Arts Alliance that help organize the work. We then identify district captains. I don't know if you have a similar system or not at IAEA, but these are folks who are assigned to legislative districts or regional areas. They then put together a local advocacy team. So that's 3 or 4 people, sometimes larger, in that district who are active in meeting with that legislator and talking about their stories and sharing their stories. And then we have what we call our action takers, and that's about a list of 14,000 people across the state who have taken in action on our software in the past, I think, 5 or 6 years. So that's kind of how our campaign rolls out and how we'll be organized in Springfield. I also just want to give you a little update about our leadership coalition. IAEA is a member of our leadership coalition, and these are all the statewide membership organizations, affinity groups, and advocacy organizations that represent our sector. So everything from museums to theaters to independent venues to independent entrepreneurs. They are all represented through this group in the state. So let's talk about what Capitol Day will actually look like, because I know you're like, what am I going to do that day if I go to Springfield? We'll have our captain's huddle at 8:30 a.m. I believe right now the captain for IAEA is Josh. So Josh will be up early with us at 8:30 to check in and make sure we have everything right. We're doing a legislator breakfast at 9. So right at 9, we're inviting legislators to have breakfast with us. We'll present our new policy agenda. We'll seat the legislators with representatives from their districts, and it should be a really great time. At 10 a.m. till 12, those who have legislator meetings will do that. Everyone else, we're asking them to attend our Advocacy 101 training, which will happen in the State House in Governor's Ballroom, which is right across the street from the Capitol. At noon, we're having our arts rally at the Rotunda. We'll have speakers. I believe we've tapped Josh to speak at this rally. We're hoping to get a student speaker as well. And that will happen from 12 to 2, a little press moment for the day. The afternoon after the rally, we'll start again with legislator meetings. And then we're going to have 2 advocacy sessions that are more like case studies. One is around the TEACH Act, which is the new requirement to teach Asian American studies in schools. There is an arts organization that built a coalition to help move that forward. So they'll be presenting. And then one of our new Arts Leadership Council, our advisory board members, Lynn LaPlante, who is a DuPage County Commissioner. She's going to be leading a how to run for office as an artist. Her background is in music. She's a violist and a violin player. So, and then at 4 p.m. after all that's done, we'll do a toast and a happy hour with heavy appetizers, so no one has to drive home hungry. And we'll send everybody off for the day. There are a couple of things that'll be happening throughout the day. One, that we're getting a lot of help from you all. And I just wanted to mention those. One is that we'll have a food truck available. Lunch is not provided. There also are restaurants and great places around Springfield to eat. We have gotten really great help from Josh and his crew to do a student art exhibition, which will be in the South Hall, I believe between 9 and 3. I know Teardown is at 3:30, so I just made it 3 to give us time. There'll be free local tours, events, and activities at the local museums and the Hoogland Arts Center. We'll have an artist on hand doing a participatory art making opportunity. And then finally, you'll have the opportunity to go to legislator committee meetings and hearings that are happening on that day. And we hope to have some kind of guides or staff members with you to say like, hey, this is what they're talking about, and here's what's happening, and here's what they're trying to decide. Accessibility is extremely important for us. There are scholarships and help available to anyone who wants to make it to Springfield. This is a convening of the entire sector, so we don't want the cost to be a barrier for anyone. So if you have questions about coming, please give me a call or shoot me an email. The scholarships currently available are from the Illinois Arts Council Agency, which is just for the conference day, but Capitol Day is a $30 fee. So maybe that would make it more accessible to you. It also covers hotel and the conference fee. So you could stay overnight and show up on Capitol Day. There was a scholarship for local arts agency leaders. That window's closed. And then if you just want to come to Capitol Day and you're wondering how to get there, or you're worried about housing, just give me an email. We do have some funds available, and I can hook you up, as they say, and we can make that happen. And then the final thing is we also created a discount code just for IAEA members. And that discount code is IAEA 30 for 30% off. And I think it brings then your Capital Day registration to about $22. And then that is all that I have. You can register today at artsalliance.org/onestate. And it's a very easy URL to remember, and you can register at any time. So with that, I am going to conclude my presentation. And does anyone have questions or follow-ups or anything like that?
I do, but I think it'll wait for another time, Eric, if that's okay.
Sure, that works. Don't worry about it.
I thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate your time this evening. I know it's valuable to you, so get on with your evening and enjoy it. And
All right. Thank you. I hope to be back. Let me know when I can come back.
we'll set something up probably early April, maybe that first week in April.
Okay, I got you. Take care. Have a good night, guys.
Right, Eric.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Eric.
So with us, Greg. I hope. Good deal, good deal. So I got a little presentation I put together. I'll go ahead and share it with you. I hope I don't have a graphic designer working for me. Sorry. Brittany, again, thank you very much for all your help. I really do appreciate it.
Of course.
So this is kind of what I wanted to do. Eric did his overview. A little brief history of Capitol Day. I've been participating in Capitol Day since 2013. It is an opportunity for us as an organization and as individuals to meet with our respective legislators. And I think that we've partnered with Arts Alliance Illinois for almost all of them. And they've been wonderful partners in the past. And we build up teams and go and meet with senators and representatives across the state. And some things that we've been able to accomplish since 2013. I think the biggest one would be the oldest one, I guess we're going in order, would be the new learning standards, which were adopted by our state in, I think, 2016, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, the big win was the Every Student Succeeds Act Arts Indicator, which states that Illinois' policy is that the arts are now showing up on school's report card as part of the grade. And a school's report card is how schools receive federal funding. Unfortunately, that measure was voted on and passed unanimously by the Illinois State Board of Education in March of 2020. And then, of course, it's still not been put in place. It had some terrible things stop it up. I don't really want to get into that, but it was slowed down. However, that is on the books, and that's really what I want us to talk about this year when we meet with our legislators. A lot of them aren't aware of it because not always is the Illinois State Board of Education in good communication with the Illinois legislator. So if we raise awareness with our legislators about this and asking when it's going to be put into place, it could light a fire and hopefully help ensure and grow art programs across the state. So that's kind of the history and the background of it. Now I have an interview that I did with a lobbyist extraordinaire. She's now a vice president at a hospital in the west side of Chicago. However, she worked before that as the lobbyist for the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. And I will turn it over to that. Okay. So Cheryl, thank you so much for joining us on this wonderful event. I am honored and pleased to call you my friend. Would you please take a moment and introduce yourself to our fine audience?
Oh, all right, Josh. So Cheryl Russell is the name. I am currently the Vice President and Chief Development Officer at St. Anthony Hospital. In a previous life, right before that, I was at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago, where you and I got to know each other. And before that, in many other places, the Chicago Botanic Garden and MacArthur Foundation, and worked for the city, but like you, from downstate Illinois. So lots of connections there.
So it was quite the whirlwind when our our spirits collided. Would you mind elaborating on how we managed to run into each other? Because it's a day I will never forget.
So we met at it was a fundraising big event that was hosted by Illinois Arts Alliance. And you were getting acknowledged as an individual who had done a great deal of wonderful work in Southern Illinois, and as probably the only other person in that very big ballroom in Chicago from Southern Illinois when they were talking about some of the places that you had impacted. I was like, wow, I've got to meet this guy because I know exactly all of these places where he's worked. And I remember coming over to your table and being very vocal and introducing myself to you and saying that I felt like we were going to be working together on something significant. And we did. So
And we did. That was quite the adventure. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was about 6 months later you managed to see me in my very fine pickup truck driving through the center, Anna, which reminded you needed to reach out to me. Am I correct there?
yes, and then that was followed by a dinner at the Applebee's near the mall in Carbondale, right?
That is very true.
Yes, where we started our plotting and planning and have been doing so ever since.
And have been continued to do so to this day, very much true. So what exactly were we plotting and planning to do?
Oh, good question. So I think that you and I both came together around a couple of very simple tenets. The first one being something that I know you believe very deeply, which is that art is has the potential to be very transformative. And I think for our purposes, kind of gaming that out to its logical conclusion, we were started thinking and talking about ways to develop programming that could connect both Southern Illinois and Northern students where I currently live in Chicago, using art to bring them together to try to create this cross-cultural experience, if you will, as a way to address this insane kind of political divide between Chicago and the rest of the state. So I think that's where it started, and we kind of moved from there.
And through our efforts, I do believe we were able to secure $30,000 from the Illinois General Assembly to provide scholarship for downstate students to go to the School of the Art Institute.
So that was the first one, and then it got naturally re-upped again. And I think that what was really both hard but yet rewarding about that is the way in which you and I kind of tag team and work together to communicate with the legislators on a consistent basis. I know that we were also able to make connections where we really created this nexus where Chicago-based, Central Illinois, and Southern Illinois legislators all came together to support this program that we were working on to kind of create this moment of shared interest and experience among legislators that we know probably on a typical day had many differences, but we were able to use the arts to kind of bring them together around something good for young folks. So I think that was our key ambition, and we succeeded in that.
We did. It was a phenomenal success. We sent many kids to the early college summer program at the school, and hopefully we can get something like that going in the future. It had a rocky start. I don't know, something terrible seemed to happen right when we were getting it off the ground. It put us back a couple years, but seems we had the ball rolling again.
Boo COVID, that's all I'll say.
Right. You talked about connections. I think that is a critical part of why we did find success, is we had sustained relationships with our legislators we work with. And
Yeah.
through meetings that I had on events like Capitol Day, Springfield. I'd been going to that at that point for I think 6 years. So I was very familiar with my local representatives.
Yeah, and I think that some of the keys to success for the both of us was that we were really strategic in how we used that consistent those consistent touch points with legislators. I think that we both tried to work very hard to make the programming real. So we made sure to use examples of students from their respective districts in terms of talking about the impact of the program. I think that we were very good at making data-driven cases for support. I remember one of our fact sheets kind of talked about the lack of programming and arts programming in Southern Illinois to, I think, inspire the Chicago-based legislators as to why this was a wonderful way to kind of reach across the state to create this shared opportunity. I think that in addition to being consistent and using data and creating real life stories of people that lived in a representative or senator's respective districts, we were also very good at creating materials that, in a practical sense, didn't use a lot of words, but used bullet pointed information to communicate salient points. And because I can remember sitting down with folks when I was going to Springfield and handing them that sheet of bullet pointed information. And while they were quickly scanning it, I would use that opportunity to kind of create color commentary around those key pieces of information. So I think that there were some strategic things that we did that to really effectively communicate both the need and the potential impact of what we were proposing to do with the kids.
Well, you spoke of going to Springfield, which I know we both made that trip many times, and I'm looking forward to doing it this April 25th, and I hope everyone can join us. Should be a blast. However, I think many people here have never been to Springfield or their members' offices in district. So what advice would you have for somebody who maybe this is their very first time being able to reach out and talk to their representative or their senator?
Well, the first thing I would suggest is that you need to just have it in your head. These people work for you. You know, you are the taxpayer. They work for you, and it is their job to respond to your questions and your interests and your needs. That is their job. And so if you work from that place of empowerment, then I would just suggest having your facts together about what it is that you want. Have about 3 to 5 salient bullet points about what it is that you want from them, what it is that they can do. I think, Josh, you and I both had that experience of, you know, you get in their office and you walk in and you introduce yourself and you sit down, and one of the first questions that they ask is like, well, what can I do? What is it that you want? What is it that you need? So be prepared to answer that question in a very crisp and brief way where you can get across the need, because if you're able to do that in an effective way, then you do leave opportunity for conversation and additional information sharing about what it is that you want from them. So I think that remembering that they work for you, having your ask prepared, probably having some collateral, some leave behinds for them to kind of ruminate on after you leave the office. And then I think that one thing that was effective for the both of us is that follow-up after the office. I know a couple of days later, you call the assistant, remind them that you were there, ask them if Senator or Representative so-and-so needs some additional information. You know, you'd be happy to provide it. So I think it's kind of just those key parts of what does follow-up look like to be able to do as well. It's not complicated. You just have to be committed to the process of doing it and doing it consistently, because it's all about relationship building and doing those things. That's the beginning of building the relationship. You can't just go to Springfield once, as you and I know. You gotta, whenever they're in session, you kind of have to go there a couple of times. And then when they're in their home district, and you got to go visit them in their district as well. So there's consistency that one must pay attention to as well.
And as you said, that they work for us. So I've found they're always willing to meet with me in district, whether
Exactly.
it's coffee and a slice of pie, or in their district office, or at school. I've had multiple representatives at Anna 37 to see art shows that we've done. So always continuing to build and show them what's going on in their district, I think, is critical to having that relationship.
Oh yeah, I like that you said that, because look, it's in their nature. They definitely like showing up at events and showing that they are supporting the community. You're absolutely right. Thinking about those district level touch points where you can invite them to see something and engage with the students and the parents. So,
well, Cheryl, thank you so much for joining us. You said everything that I could have said, except way better.
oh my Lord.
You're a valuable asset to myself and our organization. And I thank you very much for your hard work in the past. And I'm terrified of the hard work in the future.
But you will get it done. You will get it done.
You will get it done.
Oh, thanks, Josh, for inviting me to speak.
That's wonderful. All right.
All right.
So that was my friend Cheryl and I, a little conversation about advocacy. And I think she really highlighted a major point, is that we are all, we're the boss. We are the people they work for. That's the attitude I have always had when it comes to we're talking to legislators. And another thing I want to highlight is the importance of building a relationship. Art Advocacy Day is fun and exciting, and it's nice to meet the people, but a sustained relationship over time is how, when you call and talk about, I don't know, maybe House Bill 3404, they'll listen to you. So some steps that I kind of outlined here for us is you want to engage them. You want to grab their attention. You want to talk about something in their district, something that ties them into the conversation. For example, one that I have is Senator Fowler is my senator. And we have 3 community colleges in our district. I'm a graduate of one of them, and there is only one art program in the 3 colleges. There were art programs in all 3. So that is something that I have made him well aware of many times and will continue to do so. So a little bit of digging around your research, it doesn't necessarily have to be a negative thing either. That is an issue that I want to see resolved. But if you want to celebrate the opening of an arts center, or you want to talk about the college scholarship that someone in their district earned through an arts program, that is just as valid of a story and a hook. All right. Now let me go for, oh, there it is. Okay. So you got to describe the problem, who it affects, and its potential impact, or describe the success and how the arts were able to provide that success for that student. So one problem we have is the poorest, most at-risk students are the first facing and losing art programs. That's actually how I got started in advocacy. I was 12 when I decided I wanted my art teacher's job. And I went to one of the poor schools in Illinois. I went to Century in Pulaski County, one of the poor school districts in Illinois, had a phenomenal art teacher. At 22, I had my art teacher's job. So I am a very goal-oriented and driven person. And at 26, they cut my program. So that is, so yeah, it's really personal to me that when I see poor kids and I know their school is lacking the adequate tools they need to be successful in the future, I want to do all I can to resolve that. And I really believe we need to equip all our students in East St. Louis and Cairo and the West Side, all of us, to make sure they are students with the art, design, and media education required to succeed in the 21st century economy. I say, I really wholeheartedly believe that the solutions to tomorrow's problems are being developed today in the early elementary art classrooms. That's where we build creativity, imagination, and problem solving. And I think by high school, if they didn't have that elementary art, a lot of them are put away and they're afraid, and they no longer think they're creative. So I really like to see elementary programs in every district in our state. And I'd like to see a high school graduation requirement also, if I'm talking about my specific asks. So there are lots of facts, and I promise I will have a very nice, flashy leave behind from the Illinois Art Education Association, made by our graphics team, not by me. But things that stand out to me are access to arts education for Blacks and Hispanic people are significantly lower than their white peers. Low socioeconomic status students who are engaged in arts learning have increases in high school academic performance, college going rates, college grades, holding jobs in the future. They go to school more often because they like my class. They participate in the science fair. I don't even know the correlation behind that, but it's true. And in our state, my dear friend Chris Sikora and his team at the Arts Connective have given over $300 million in scholarship offers and $700,000 in early college programs. So the early college programs would be for people that are still in high school. So we are the arts and our organizations are trying to create opportunities for these most at-risk people, and we're finding success. So I do want to elevate that to our legislators to let them know that we're doing the work. We just could use their help. So you heard some of my stories. That one of the things that I would say the most important thing you can do is have a well-developed story. It does not need to be long. It can be 3 minutes. But like I wanted my art teacher job when I was in 6th grade. That's it. Like, that's a story, something they can relate to, something that talks about their district. Like, I went to Century. That is in Representative Windhorse's district. He knows that, but I will probably highlight all that yet again because, I don't know, it never hurts to remind them. And what impact does art have on your life? What does it have on your students? How is your program improving the students? How are the students that are denied access in neighboring communities? What's the impact there? And the more specific, open, honest, heartfelt, direct, the better. Because every one of these guys and ladies are bombarded with facts, figures, and needs day in and day out. But stories, good stories they like to retell, that's where our win is. So, you got to connect it to them. What economic impact do the arts have on their legislative district? And there's something everywhere. I'm coming up with stuff in deep state, Southern Illinois. Ask your legislator, they will also like to tell stories. All of them I've ever met with likes to tell stories. They like to hear themselves talk, and they got elected by being good storytellers. That's a big part of it. And is there any overlap between arts learning and specific legislation? I know that we were working with, most recently, we were working with arts learning and, overcoming social and emotional learning struggles due to the pandemic. And, as you get to know your legislator, you won't in your 5-minute meeting, 10-minute meeting that you're going to have in Springfield, but as time passes and you'll see their passions and you'll see opportunities to work together. For example, Representative Windhorse and I are both very committed to economic development in deep Southern Illinois because I've watched it go away for the last 20 years. And both of us know that this can be a thriving community. Both of us know that it's full of very talented people. So I've served on his One Shawnee Council. He comes and speaks to my students. And we've become pretty good friends over the last, I think he's in his 4th term. So over the last 8 years. So ask, we gotta have an ask. Please support equitable access to visual art, design, and media education. More specifically, when we talk about the Every Student Succeeds Act Arts Indicator, there's actually language there. And also, I really encourage all of us to invite your legislator to your school, to an art show. And just they want to be seen. Every time they see people, that's votes. They need those votes to keep their job. So please reach out and invite them to events. And just remember that every conversation counts. Tell a story, build a relationship, show back up, reach back out after your meeting, thank them for their time. Go ahead and reach out through art shows. Every time somebody likes a piece of art that was made in your room, that's advocating for your program. And be prepared and ready to answer questions and ask sincere questions. Now, don't be too nervous about the being prepared. If this is your first advocacy go round, you will be on a team with a team leader of people that have done this before. And our goals is to start and foster a relationship with your legislator. That's the main one. My main goal for you guys is to get to know your legislator, because when there are bills that we need to talk about and they know you, they're going to listen. If they don't know who you are, they get called by that person 100, if not 1,000 times a day. Please invite them to your school. They want to see your kids. They want to see the work you're doing. They want to celebrate it with you. That's true regardless of party lines. My main political asks are a little different than Eric's, but he talked about both of them, to raise awareness around the Every Student Succeeds Act Arts Indicator and to increase funding for the Illinois Arts Council. So I said that I was the director of Art for All. That's a volunteer organization, kind of grassroots, and we work to start art programs in schools that don't have them. And over the past 5 years, we've started or restarted 9 art programs, and 3 of those were funded through the Illinois Arts Council. So that goal is actually very personal to me. And the most important thing you can do is have fun, because it's going to be on my birthday and I'm going to have fun. So I want you to too.